Last week I began to talk about faith crises and what we do with them. I suggested first that faith crises are not uncommon among faithful Christians, and that they can become the basis of a growth spurt, spiritually speaking. I then suggested that being in worship, even when it feels like we're just going through the motions, is the single most important thing we can do to work through those faith crises. Today I want to suggest something that goes hand in glove with worship: fellowship with other believers. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. Being in worship regularly is the first and best discipline in one's walk through a faith crisis. Hearing and saying certain words over and over again can have a profound and long-term effect on one's faith. Most of the time we hear or say these words, we don't give them a second thought. But that's not the point. It is the way these words, the Apostles' Creed, the Lord's Prayer, the short sentences we say to introduce different parts of worship, and so on. It's the way these words embed themselves deeply in our consciousness, and more importantly, in our subconsciousness, that provides the long-term sustenance we need to weather faith crises. Now, what's implied in this, but has to be made plain, is the role of the community of faith in restoring one's faith. When we come to worship, ideally we come to be with a particular group of people who surround us with their faith. Sure, you can worship online or anonymously in a very large church where you can come and go unnoticed, and there is a place for this kind of worship from time to time. But over the long haul, there is simply no substitute for being in the regular company of a particular community of believers. Why is this community so important? For one simple reason. At least some people in the community of faith will have experienced exactly the same kinds of faith questions and struggles that you're going through. Having them walk beside you as you work out your questions provides an invaluable source of wisdom and strength. They can't solve your issues for you, but they can tell you about their own struggles. And just knowing that you're not alone, let alone crazy, is huge. Let me speak out of my own experience. It may shock you to know that I myself have known faith crises in the past. It's not so much that I ceased to believe, but more like I just became spiritually empty, as if the deep well of my faith dried up and left me feeling like a thirsty man in a desert. So much has my spiritual well dried up from time to time that I could hardly get up to preach. And some folks have even noticed that. But always, I knew I was drying up long before anyone else noticed. Believe it or not, it is at precisely these times that I learn once again to lean on my faith community. Always there is someone who has been there and who can encourage me along the way. Another way of saying this is that you have been my source of strength when my well runs dry. You have encouraged me with your stories, and you have cheered me on when you knew that I was empty. The writer of Ecclesiastes speaks to this very thing when he says, "Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift the other. But woe to the one who is alone and falls and does not have another to help. Again, if two lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And though one might prevail against another, two will withstand one. A threefold cord is not quickly broken." It may sound trite, but it is the simple truth. We are stronger together. And when we experience doubts and struggle with our faith, there is no substitute for a supportive community of believers. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.